Hey guys, I figured it's time to do a State of the Watch collection video. It's been some time and it's never too late to do one for 2021. So here it is, my State of the Watch collection for 2021. I'll go in the order of the most recently purchased timepiece to the first timepiece that I purchased. And there are about 10 here, so I have to go pretty darn quickly. The first piece is, of course, my Grand Seiko Show. This was purchased by my fiance as my engagement watch, and it's just an absolute gorgeous timepiece. I got to purchase this watch without thinking about value retention or limited availability. I could genuinely focus on a watch that I wanted to wear because I knew that I would never sell this timepiece. And for that reason, I got the Show, which is meant to evoke one's feelings when they look through a still body of water and the summer breeze passes over and there are the ripple effects that we are also familiar with. So just a very relatable and calming dial. The details are amazing. Of course, it also has a GMT function, so very practical, elegant travel timepiece with an in-house high beat movement from Grand Seiko. The next piece that I purchased was the Christopher Ward Sapphire Diver. So, of course, right off the bat, it's hard to talk about this watch without covering the gorgeous blue tinted sapphire dial. Just a really fun watch. This is a 600-meter water resistance timepiece, so it certainly has the specs to back it up. And this is going to serve as my ultimate beater and dive timepiece. Really unique execution by Christopher Ward. Just a fun piece in general. It's, of course, powered by a Sellita-based movement, so it's a workhorse movement. Nothing too hot horology about it, but a solid watch for its price. The next purchase I had is the Feynman One Founders Edition. So this is one of 50 timepieces made in this particular green teal color, and this is my green watch. It has a very dynamic dial, very unique design as well. In this lighting it looks teal, but in others it looks green, and that's what I love about this timepiece. It's a very dynamic dial, a pretty unique configuration of the sub-second complication, a manual wind ETA movement, and Feynman is just a micro brand that I find very authentic. A lot of Chinese brands try to cover up their Asian heritage, but Feynman doesn't really shy away from it. You can see closely, if you look closely in the sub-second dial, you can see some Chinese characters indicating 60, 15, 30. So, really cool timepiece here. I love the design. I like that it doesn't shy away from its Asian heritage, and it's solid movement as well. Early in 2020, I decided to jump into Le-Coultre. This is my hot horology timepiece. This is the Master Control Geographic, just an absolute amazing piece here. I specifically went for this iteration of the model because I really liked the way it has that downward stroke power reserve, whereas the newer editions, it's upwards. And I just like also how they have that gorgeous day-night indicator with an actual night sky and sun engraving on the dial itself. So the Master Geographic, of course, the selling point here is you can travel through the world and kind of see what time it is in, say, New York or all the way to London. So it's a very easy to use GMT watch here. This is my travel timepiece. It's my hot horology timepiece from a very, very storied brand, and I absolutely adore this watch here. Into collection timepieces that I covered in my previous State of the Watch collection video. This is the Zenith Prime. It is essentially a manual wind version of the Zenith El Primero. It's a vintage watch that has the vintage appeal and the vintage sizing, and I love it for that. I mean, look at this dial. It's not a simple matte finish dial. You can see it kind of sparkles in the light. The polished rings around the chronograph registers. It's just gorgeous, and it is thin, it is comfortable, it is unique in that it is a manual wind El Primero movement, a high beat movement, of course. So just a very fun, dressy, vintage chronograph. Fits great in my collection, in my opinion. Next is the one collection watch to rule them all, and this is the Omega Seamaster Aquaterra. When I wear this watch, I just am reminded of how versatile it is, you know, boardroom and beach shore, just a beautiful skyfall blue with an in-house movement, METAS certified, 150 meters water resistance. Really can't go wrong with this timepiece. Accurate, robust. It can serve as the beater watch, but I figured just in case if I do something too active, that's where the Christopher Ward comes in. But for anything else, the pool, a beach event that's not too labor or activity intensive, I'm going with the Aquaterra. Next, I have the Hamilton Jazzmaster skeleton watch, and this is, in my opinion, still the most objectively, in my opinion, beautiful watch that I own. I mean, it is so mesmerizing to see that open heart escapement beat. This was actually purchased by my fiance early on in our relationship as well, a watch that I will never sell. I still get the most compliments when I wear this timepiece, irregardless of how much more expensive some of my other timepieces are, because it's just so unique, so gorgeous, and just really punches well above its price point. It houses a modified ETA movement with an 80-hour power reserve. It's just an all-around watch. Now we get into some of my earlier collections. This is back when I thought I would never spend over $1,000 on a timepiece. And what better watch to go with than a Swatch? So this is my Swatch System 51 watch. It has some heritage to it, being, you know, the first kind of Swatch mechanical in-house movement that was built, you know, essentially assembled completely through automation with limited you know, hand involvement. And it's a rather unique way to skeletonize the date wheel here. It's a fun little watch. It's too big for my wrists now that my tastes have changed, but still very fun to have in the collection. I then moved to my early value piece here. This is the Orient Open Heart, one of the only watches that I have that's closed case back, actually. Has an in-house Orient movement. Orient, of course, being a sub-brand of Seiko. Just a all-around great brand that has really high value, bang-for-buck timepieces for those who don't quite have the budget to go all out. And so I think this is just a really great starter piece that I keep in my collection even to this day. Lastly, I have the Fossil Automatic. You can see one of my only mineral glass timepieces here. It has some scratches on it. I wore this guy out for quite some time. It has a Miyota movement. Nothing too fancy here, but this is what started it all, right? And this is why this is always going to be in the collection. I was, got into the world of mechanical timepieces through Fossil. I know they have a bad rep in the kind of watch snob crew, but really respect the brand here for bringing so many new watch enthusiasts into the fold. And I still think this is a very handsome timepiece, albeit it's way too large for my wrist, being at 44 millimeters. So this is it, the State of the Watch Collection 2021. I'm looking forward to adding primarily a moon phase watch as the next timepiece. I am awaiting the Kurono Tokyo Anniversary Edition to come into the mail in the next couple of months here. And I just look forward to seeing what the next year brings. and continuing to feed this addiction that is watch collecting.